Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Always and Forever podcast, The Doggone Truth About Rescue. Tonight's episode is actually going to be a little different than what we said we were going to talk about in our last one. We're going to put to the side adoption to talk about today of a very special event that will be coming up next month with David's Day. So we have two very special guests with us today. If you'd like to introduce yourselves.
I'm Judy Katterhenrich.
And I'm Amy Stoecker.
Welcome. Thank you for coming out tonight. And could you guys kind of tell us how you both started with Always and Forever?
Sure. I showed up at the barn about a month or so after the doors opened, looking for something to do with dogs that wouldn't make me sad, like going to animal shelters and wanting to take them all home. But the barn was a happy, peaceful place, and they were already home at that time and were going to stay there forever, we thought, because it was a sanctuary without adoption privileges at that time. And so I came out and enjoyed the countryside and washed dishes and picked up poop and enjoyed the peace and the happiness. And then I started riding along with vet drives, and now I coordinate the vet drives for all four facilities. So lots and lots of vet drives. We probably have between 5 and 12 appointments, sometimes every day, and it's a big enterprise, lots and lots of miles.
I can only imagine recapping on our episode last week with Craig and his Freedom rides and Furever rides with the mileage he puts on, and then we talked about now the difference between the vet rides.
Oh, yeah. I'm
busy.
Yeah, my husband keeps track of my mileage, and I don't let him get in my car anymore.
I don't blame you.
So I went out to the barn. Same thing. I just saw a Facebook post. I saw Hank. He was the big Great Dane, and just wanted to meet him. I'm a real estate agent, and I donate. At that time, I was donating to random charities. Now it's basically just Always and Forever. But I had some money I wanted to donate, so I contacted Jen and asked if I could have a tour. And I just showed up with my sister. There was only like 6 dogs at the time. We stayed there for like an hour. Just hung out, and I basically just never left. I've done a little bit of everything. I actually was the one that I didn't find Craig, but I was coordinating the drives at the time. Temporarily, I was told, but the girl that I took it over from got a promotion and couldn't come back, and I knew I couldn't keep that up. That is one of the hardest jobs, probably followed by the vet coordination. It is nonstop all day, every day, and so Craig had been driving for me, and I just could tell that he was going to be perfect for it. So I asked him to please take over. Then I got more focused on the boarding, and I started the boarding volunteer group. And
so we'll have you back for another episode?
Well, I don't do much boarding anymore, but just because of how it is all set up now, and it's in different parts of the city. But at the time, we had boarding facilities that no volunteers were going to just because no one knew about it. So I got a group together, and we started it up, and now look at where we are with all of our boarding dogs.
And you did an exceptional job, by the way. Your group saved those dogs who were in boarding and didn't have day-to-day contact with the rest of the barn.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, so let's get into the episode more about David. How did you guys meet David?
And how was he involved in the farm?
David and his mom, Linda, came out to one of our volunteer orientations. We used to have them monthly. And she was hoping to get him involved in the barn. And he, of course, became involved right away. For those of you who follow us, you're well aware that David lost a leg at age 6 in a car accident and has lived his life in a wheelchair. It never stopped him. He did everything. He kayaked, he bicycled, he threw himself into everything he did. And so when he came to volunteer, he saw the opportunity to start a transport business because we were overwhelmed with vet drives. And he began the sunflower transport business, which is why you see sunflower symbols everywhere around the barn. We see them everywhere. We drive now wherever we go. But he and his mom came out and got involved. He and I became partners in crime and silliness, I tell people, because we split the vet drives, and along with a lot of volunteers, he became a regular. He was driving every day, and I was driving one direction. He was driving another. And he became a real part of the family. And he was the king of silliness.
So I actually didn't meet David for a long time. As you guys know, you can be very involved and just only meet people online.
And I think that's a testament to how big the organization has grown.
Exactly.
And the different locations and how many roles are
So
filled.
we were in similar message groups on Facebook because but our paths just didn't cross until one day he was at the boarding facility picking up a dog. And I was like, oh, you're David. That was only probably 6 months prior to last summer that I met him for the first time, which was great. He is hilarious, and you can tell that right away. Jen was all about the homestead. She wanted to raise money. We were going to have to buy land. So I was just like, we need to raise money. So we're all in a group message together in the admin group. I just threw it out there that someone should walk across the state. I'd heard about a guy doing it in Tennessee, and he had raised like $100,000. David didn't even hesitate. He's like, I'm going to push my wheelchair across the state.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it was within seconds of me throwing out that idea. He's like, I'll do it. I've always wanted to push my wheelchair across the state. He's crazy. And we were like, okay. So that's how the whole fundraising started, is he was going to push his wheelchair. Now we convinced him to ride his bike for safety purposes and time purposes. I don't even want to know how long it would take to push a wheelchair across the state of Kansas. But that's kind of how it started. Was he had the idea he wanted to raise $100,000.
So David had this idea for fundraising and starting this journey to hike across, and unfortunately he was unable to do that. Can we kind of talk about how this transformed into his idea of that fundraising into what it turned into now?
So we had one meeting with David and his mom and a couple volunteers that were going to help plan it. And we had all kinds of ideas. It was his idea to also collect donations. His mom was going to drive a van behind him, one for safety, but two full of donations that we were going to have collected. And he was going to stop at shelters, like more rural shelters along the way, and do donations. We were also going to bring out some of our dogs. That's probably where Judy was going to come in.
Yeah.
She was going to bring dogs out, meet along the route. They were going to be part of some of it. And we had all kinds of ideas, but we had one meeting before David passed away.
I know it's going to be difficult to talk about, and I appreciate how both of you talk about David in the present tense still, of he is funny, he is the silly guy, his spirit is still here. But unfortunately for the listeners that did not know David and this story is new to them, the fundraising idea that David had came up with had to shift with David's passing of last summer. And I think it's important for everybody to hear that story and how the change was transitioned. So Judy, can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. It was a profound event for the Always and Forever family because David was on a vet drive, and he and I were going in two opposite directions that morning. And he and Annabelle, who was the dog he had picked up, never arrived at the vet. But we didn't know that for a while. And so it wasn't until the afternoon when people started calling each other saying, have we heard from David, that we found out he'd been involved in a very tragic traffic accident. And he and Annabelle both lost their lives in that accident. So it was huge for the organization.
We'll just take a moment for that one.
Was Annabelle,
She
on
was
a
a
vet?
foster.
Okay.
She was going to the vet, and she had a wonderful foster family who continues to foster dogs.
I love it.
They adopted right after.
Yeah, they
too.
did, and so it was a big loss for all of us with Annabelle too. So we always keep Annabelle in mind when we're talking about this because she was lost too.
Was he only vet rides? I'm sorry.
He mainly focused on vet rides. Yeah,
He did Freedom though too.
he did. He did some really long ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
He did the longer ones. He'd
Yeah.
go to, I don't know, Boston. Or I know he went way to the East Coast.
yeah, he went to Pennsylvania.
Maybe not Boston. Maybe not Boston.
Okay.
Pennsylvania.
I know he went to Pennsylvania a couple of times.
Up east.
He would sleep in his van with the dogs.
He put everything into it.
Oh yeah.
A lot of our adopters across the country did get to meet David because it wasn't so much the Freedom Drives, it was the Forever Drives to their family. He would be the one that would take them. So quite a few people in Pennsylvania or Iowa or Illinois have met him.
I think he took Sally, didn't he? Right
I'm
before
pretty
that?
sure.
Yeah, I think just a couple of weeks before, he had gone on a really long ride and drive to deliver. I think it was Sally. I don't know. He met a lot of adoptive families and who had never met him because they'd never even been to the barn. So it really brought the whole Always and Forever family of alumni and fosters and adopters closer.
With David being such an important part of adding members to the Always and Forever family and building up that alumni community, how do you think it's helped with his legacy since he's passed?
Interestingly enough, when he started planning his transportation company, the first name for his business that he had chosen was Legacy. And
Really?
then he switched it. Yeah. And he switched it to Sunflower Transport. And after David died, and our other colleague, Sarah Mills, in essence, David's legacy, and start her own transport company, she named her company Legacy because she was following his legacy. She also knew that he had originally planned to name his company that. So we do talk about him in the present tense. I won't lie, I haven't taken him off my favorites list in my phone, and I am known to mistakenly call everyone in the whole organization a lot. And I call David every couple days. And I'm probably going to continue because he's still in my phone.
I love it. So for me, a lot of people think that legacy means someone leaving their legacy, meaning money, land. But with legacy, for me, when it comes to David, is more so of leaving a legacy, meaning giving something that will be valued and treasured by those who survived after your death. So if we can get into more of that, of what David has done and will continue to do for Always and Forever.
I knew immediately we were still going to do something during that week that he was going to be traveling across Kansas. When I hugged Linda at David's funeral, I told her, I don't know what it is, but we will do something and we'll make him proud, we'll make you proud. None of us were willing to ride our bike, though, across the state. I asked. No one was willing to do it. Do either one of you want to do it?
I actually might consider, not walking, but bike. I would maybe do bike.
If they have a seat that's big enough,
Guy wants the moped.
I'll do that. Yeah.
We have it here. We have this on record, 2023. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, well-
Connie she did a bike ride last year out to the memorial where we all not all of us, but several of us gathered, just took a moment to remember we're going to do that again this year. We knew we just wanted to do something, and we wanted David's legacy to basically spread the world. He was a huge traveler. At his funeral, there was a map that had pins in it of everywhere he'd been. There were so many pictures. He did not let his wheelchair stop him at all. He traveled the world. So I wanted to spread that to the world. Such a big part of his David's Day was the rural shelters. He was all about the Osawatomie Pound. He was all about the little places that just don't get the donations. They don't get the money. So we kind of shifted the David's Day or we created it to be David's Day instead of the whole week, and asked people to do something in their community. It didn't need to be donating to Always and Forever, although that was part of it. And we raised over $60,000. So lots of people did.
Nice.
But we also asked people, just call a shelter in your area that's not the biggest one in the city. Mm-hmm. Go a little outside your city, find someone who really needs that, and ask what they need, and start doing little donation drives. And then we asked that everyone, and they could do it before David's Day, which was October 2nd last year. But we asked on David's Day, post a picture of you having donated that. Make a sign, make it silly, make it fun. And then hashtag David's Day. So when we searched it, hundreds of pictures would come up. And they did. We were in 7 countries participated that I know of, over 37 states, and it was like 130 cities. And I think from what I could count, there was over 60 shelters that benefited that day.
Okay, so Amy, outside of monetary donations, what can our listeners or volunteers, how can they donate to shelters or participate in David's Day?
So I recommend trying to find the contact and reaching out. A lot of them are going to be organized, and they'll already have an Amazon wish list, and they can probably just send you the link, and then you can send that out to your friends, your family, your coworkers, tell them what you're doing, and have them help you, get the donations. Some of them will send you an email list just with a few things on it, and you could make your own Amazon wish list or tell your, friends, family, coworkers what you're getting. And that can be specific. But if you don't know specific, I wouldn't do a bunch of food without asking, because a lot of dogs are on special diets, or they try to keep their dogs on the same food. A lot of cats are overlooked. So they might get a ton of dog food donations, but no cat food donations. So ask if they have cats. But just in general, a couple basic things that are great that every shelter needs. They need beds, but they don't need the soft, cozy beds that you want to buy them.
They chew them up.
They chew them up. They're in that kennel, right? And they're going to explode. Yeah. So you want to donate. They're a little more expensive, but donate the raised, harder beds that then the staff can put blankets on and make a cozy spot. But it gets them up off the floor, because you'd be amazed how many of these rural shelters, the dogs unfortunately are sleeping on the floor.
Right.
So getting them up. Treats are good. If you're going to do toys, again, same concept. Not toys that they can destroy, chew up, swallow a squeaker, hurt themselves. Kongs are great. Bones that, they can't swallow. Nyla bones, those are good. But you just have to keep the dog's safety in mind, which is why it is really good to specifically ask the shelter what is best for your dogs. And then also cleaning supplies.
Yeah,
as
totally.
You probably know. Ugh. So bleach, paper towels, toilet paper, bottled water, anything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably even just hand soap.
Thank you so much for that, Amy.
Yeah, thank you for the ideas, Amy. I think sometimes when you want to step in, volunteer, donate, there's that hesitation of, I don't know what to do. And just a reminder, every little thing helps, even if it is a $4 or $5 pack of water bottles to send over to the shelter, it will make a difference. And speaking of making a difference, I want to know a little bit more about David. Can we talk about him and his character?
I wish I would have met David. I think we would have got along great.
He was wit. The main thing we all loved about him was he was so funny. And at that time, back then, we tried to give every dog a unique name. Now we're into over 3,000 animals, right. So yes, we do repeat some. But we had what we called the name game, and about once a week, we would all get on the phone and we'd name dogs. And you had to get 3 votes from the rest of the group in order to win the name game. David just kept it going. He was absolutely insane. And we went on long into the night because he always had to have the last word. And his mom, Linda, tells me now that she used to sit there and listen to his end of that conversation and say, who are these people?
What were some of the names I need to know that he would recommend? That you probably just shook your head and said, oh, David.
Well, actually, Jen was responsible for most of the names, and we didn't vote hers names in because she would be
Jen.
She would be wandering around her kitchen, and she would start saying, pepper, paprika. And David would say, she's in her kitchen now. Where is she headed next? And it was that kind of a thing where you would just keep going until finally 2 people agreed with you. And he was just one of the funniest people in the whole group.
Coming back to David's Day, you said last year it was on October 2nd, and that was the first annual, correct?
Correct.
So when is it this year, and how can our listeners participate?
So it'll be the first Saturday of October every year. So this year, because Saturday is when he was going to take off, so this year it'll be on October 1st, I believe is the first Saturday. And it's just an all day. It's not like there's a time, everyone does something. Like I said, they could even do a donation ahead of time because some people, they might work on Saturday. So go to your local shelter and do a donation ahead of time, but take some pictures, make a sign, hashtag David's Day, put where you're from so that we can see it, so we can really kind of keep track of where all it is. And then on David's Day on the 1st, we just flood social media. We do a lot of silly videos, remember him, and post as much as we can and try to make it all good.
Amy has an incredible map she keeps adding to. She has a pin for every city that we've we hit last year or donated or supported a shelter, and she'll keep that up.
Yep, and we'll try to do it again this year and add to it, and hopefully someday it's just nothing but pins.
There you go.
So you mentioned the main idea of David's Day is donating to the local smaller shelters. How can our listeners find them? Like if they are the smaller ones and they don't have the social media, what's the best route to go?
I helped some people last year more locally. Now I will say, obviously, if you're in Seattle, I don't really know, but Google is the best way to do it. You can just Google around small towns outside your city, and they'll pop up. We found a lot last year in Kansas that we did not know about at all, and Missouri. And I'd say we'd probably covered 20 within an hour and a half of Kansas City. So there are a lot that you just don't know about, you don't hear about.
So with Google, there's always the risk of scams. What do you recommend if we're asking people to donate to these smaller ones to make sure they're a legitimate nonprofit organization? This is coming from, I have a side funny story. This is coming from someone who has been scammed online over a deposit for a kitten.
Well, when we do think about it, the one down that we just took over, and
We have we all have a great resource in Craig Elford, who was on your last podcast. Because,
that's very true.
Because of the freedom drives, and a lot of our dogs come from rural shelters where they were surrendered and they can't help them. Craig has been building a library of all these different places, and there is a rescue online group that our intake people are a part of. And so there are organizations that have been pretty well vetted by us because of the fact that we've been involved in helping them rescue dogs.
he did send me a list last year of probably 30 or 40. So when people reached out to me, I did go to that list. And that list does include some across the nation, because he does plan longer freedom rides.
Oh, we found out last week, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina. He's been all over.
Yeah, I would say if you're in a different state or different country, do your research, ask around, ask where people have, gotten their animals from before. Just try to do your best to vet it out. And at the end of the day, if you donate to the big shelter down the street, they still is helping animals.
Yeah.
So
I'm gathering back memories of when I did get scammed and answering my own question a little bit here of things I wish I would have done. But I tried to black that all out. I remember after reading, you can call your vets, like your veterinarian that's close enough, ask them for the local shelters, or if you found one and you want to double check it, call the vet and be like, have you heard of taking care of any of these dogs?
that's a good idea.
I should have done that before. Anyways.
And then we also told people if you don't have time to collect donations, if you'd rather just make a donation to the shelter or to Always and Forever. We raised over $60,000 last year, which is what really contributed to the sunflower suites.
Do we have a number goal this year?
I would like us to get to the 100,000 because that's what David wanted to raise.
Do we have to get on bikes?
Goal.
I think we have to get on bikes to do that.
I mean, we can start a GoFundMe of you and I. How far are we doing this right now?
Well,
how far do you want to bike
We're
from?
talking about David's Day, so how are we going to celebrate? Well, let's do this.
I'm saying you and I, as podcast hosts.
Oh boy,
You're the one that started this idea, and I'm going to take it and bike off with it.
okay, but we have to
can
stop
start a
by
GoFundMe.
Food
That
restaurants.
if we bike a certain amount of dollars, you get people to donate per dollar
that's a good
that we
idea.
do.
Connie will get with you guys. She'll train with you.
So every what?
Like donate. Like I will pledge. I think it's pledging. I'll pledge $5 every mile you bike.
Okay.
Connie's bike ride we raised over 1,000, I think, last
Yeah.
year when she did it. So the more that do it. Yeah. And then also part of David's Day is we are doing, which you're a part of, is 4 of us, I want to do more, but 4 of us volunteered to compete and raise as much money as we can in the month of October. So that'll kick off with David's Day and then go through the month of October.
Would I be cheating if I announce my...
No, if you want to do a bike ride,
You literally
Sarita.
have the mic.
It's Sarita Sally here. Look for my name on Facebook. Donate to my page, which will be set up
eventually by
on.
October 1st.
we can't start until October 1st. So
start saving now.
Please, I appreciate you guys. I'm all about the dogs. Let's do this for David's Day, and I do not lose.
If people put $1 away each day until October, they could have almost like...
I heard you on the
$25
podcast talk about if every Facebook follower donated $1.
Do you know
I
how many
can't tell you-
followers we have?
I can't tell you how many times I've said that.
I would love to see, well, Facebook doesn't accept less than a $5 donation. So if every Facebook follower, which is hello, I mean, donated $5, it would be really, really incredible.
Right.
That'd be a huge chunk towards the homestead.
Yeah.
So speaking of, what would the homestead mean to David?
David already had the homestead. Linda says that she found somewhere he has a satellite view or a map where he had already circled it. It was already in his head that we were buying the homestead.
I know that's right.
Even though I don't think any of us believed it until we actually closed that we were buying the homestead.
David did.
David did.
No, he did. And the wonderful thing was when we closed on that land and we all walked out into the thickets and the tall weeds, David's brother Eddie came with his family and David's mom Linda. And Eddie gave a beautiful, touching, it will make you cry, blessing of the land and the people on the land. It's my personal goal to have a big plaque made of that, and the first day the Red Barn goes up, that plaque goes on the wall with Eddie's blessing, because it was an incredible moment. It was really good.
And you have previously mentioned that you're a realtor. Can you kind of go over how you were involved with us getting the homestead?
Yeah. So several years ago, Jen and I started talking about land and how we wanted to expand. But at that time, I mean, we just didn't have the money to buy the homestead. We did not know that David had printed it out and had circled it. We talked about it briefly, but knew it was a pipe dream. And so we ran around and went south where land's much cheaper and started looking at land out there, which nothing felt right, thank goodness, because we didn't move forward with anything. And then we started to grow, and donations started coming in at higher rates. And so Jen and I started talking about the land again and how amazing it would be to have 40 acres right behind the 5 we already had. So she had mentioned that she had the phone number of one of the owners. Back when she moved in, a neighbor had given it to her, but she deleted it because she didn't need it. I was pretty mad at her about it at the time, but it turns out it was actually for the best that I didn't call the seller directly. But I did look up and found a tax address in Alaska. So I decided I'm just going to write a letter. I'm going to pull at these sellers' heartstrings. They're going to be dog lovers. They're going to call me up. We're going to have an easy sell, and it's going to just be as easy as can be, and this land will be ours. That's not how it went down at all. They never reached out to me, but I did find out later that that letter did trigger them to call their realtor and talk about putting the land on the market. And this had been in this family for 70 years. Wow. So the fact that it came on the market 6 months after that letter, it wasn't a coincidence. It came on the market one day and we were like, oh, there's that land. It was expensive, but we knew we could get it done. There was a lot that happened between that January of 2022 and when we closed in April of 2022. Anytime you have a bear hunter in Alaska, a hippie on the East Coast, and a girl that lives in Mexico, and they don't get along, a lot's going to happen. But ultimately, we think David was up there. He knew we were going to close on the land. He could see it. He knew it would be ours. He would make sure of it. But in the meantime, he was going to do a bunch of stuff to entertain himself and laugh at me and Jen running around like crazy people, Jen being stressed. I mean, we should have backed out of that land quite a few times. But at the end of the day, we just knew it was ours and we could see ourselves there.
And I think once the homestead is finalized, there are going to be a lot of moments where good, bad, silly, this shouldn't be happening.
It's already happened. It happens all the time, and we're like, that was David. And his mom, there's been several incidents with her, unfortunately, that she's like, well, guys, that was just David.
Absolutely. So with the homestead and once it is up and running, how do we plan on including David's legacy in the vision?
Well, we're already including his legacy in the vision with the project that is a little closer to completion, we hope, the Osawatomie Pound, because the funds that were initially raised were going toward what we're calling the Sunflower Suites at the Osawatomie Pound, which really makes that building and that project that we assist the city of Osawatomie with. We take care of all the dogs. We provide all their health care. We provide all
And
the
the cats.
staffing.
And the cats. Cats made it into the episode.
Yep, cats. Part of that first year project was really focused on trying to get the funding for, to get that rolling.
And that is where I plan on putting that mat permanently once they're up and going.
And I will digress 1 second while we're talking about the pound to tell a David story.
Yes, please.
David and I would drive out there, and it's very dark and very cold, and it's down a dirt road, and he and I were taking two very large dogs that couldn't ride together, so we both had to go. And there's one door out of the pound. He's in his wheelchair with a giant, big, hairy dog. And he said, hold the door for me and I'll load first. So I held the door and he came roaring out, hit the gravel, hit the mud. The wheelchair went one way, David went the other way, and he's hanging on to that dog for dear life. And we told the story before, and he never let go, and that's why we're never going to let him go.
I think the main thing to realize is how easy it is to make a difference. And David did it every day.
Yep.
But that's part of why David's Day, it's nothing complicated. It's nothing that really takes much for us to even plan. It's literally just everyone do good that day. Everyone make a difference, because that's what he did all the time.
And I think it's an easy reminder to see how we can all connect together.
The pictures were beautiful, like going through the pictures, and they'll be posted all day on our pages. You can also search the hashtag David's Day, and you can search it now and you'll see lots of pictures from last year. And I just hope that every year we just get flooded with those.
I wanted to go into every episode. There's a dog that we give a shout out to, and is there a dog that's still around that David did a freedom ride for?
A lot of them.
Yeah, is there one still around that we can give a shout out to for our listeners? Again, you can always go on our Facebook page. We also have an alwaysforever.org to look up our dogs. But is there a specific one?
I'm sure there is, because we've had
There's
some. We have some
probably
now.
a lot,
we have
right?
some now that we've had for well over a year.
Yeah, I think Cadillac.
Really?
I think Cadillac.
We've had Cadillac that long?
Seems like we have.
Judy,
You can edit that.
I love you, Judy.
I'm scrolling through the photos right now to think of.
Cadillac. Okay, so
We've definitely had several dogs for
I'm gonna go-
almost 2 years now.
So I'm on the website, and there are actually tabs you can click on. Most in Need is one of them. So those are dogs that with either health needs or have been with us for a while, are looking to get a home. So I'm just going to read some names, and you guys can let us know. Cole, Guinness, Benny, Rosie. No, Rosie just came to
They're
us.
too recent.
These are all
Yeah.
new.
Yeah.
I can't even think of
I
our
could
dogs that
bring
we've
up
had.
Shelter Love and look for one.
Anyway.
so
You're using our brain here.
Yeah.
sorry. I just want to.
It's a lot of memory.
Yeah, we always give a shout out to.
I'm trying to think of David's favorite dogs, even if they're adopted.
Yeah, what kind of dogs did he like? Did he like the big burly ones?
Big
Or the
burly
little-
ones who
He
would
also
try
liked
to
to
climb
steal
up in his
puppies.
lap. Yeah, he actually came across them on a country road not very far from the barn once, and his van was stopped, and I came up and said, "David, what are you doing in there?" And he had seen a little puppy walking down the middle of the road, and he decided he would rescue it. And of course, it turned out to be someone's actual puppy, and Jen made him give it back.
And the thing is with David is, and it's similar with Craig and probably Judy, something about the driving, the dogs attached to them. They walk into
Yeah.
the barn and it's like the rest of us don't exist. And it was the same way with David.
Yeah, it was really nice at the end of the day. A lot of afternoons, Craig would be bringing dogs in. David and I had gotten done with our respective vet drives, and we all ended up at the barn together, and the sun's slanting through the windows, and we're all sitting on the couches with dogs on our laps. And that's the essence of the really great part about the barn.
And if you haven't been to the barn, it has the most incredible sunsets and sunrises. So I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of them up there. But I'm going to do this episode to Cadillac because his name came up multiple times in this episode. So a little bit about Cadillac. He is a Terrier Pit Bull mix at a whopping 81.12 pounds. He is a big boy. And he was with his family for the first 10 years of his life, and then they moved and unfortunately did not take him with them. He does love his walks, his strolls, his food. We do ask for Cadillac that it's an adult-only home preferred, as he is a little bit dog selective and has a bite history, as well as some medical needs with his skin. But if you enjoy walking, he does have a few extra pounds he could lose, and he's pretty low energy and most perfect snuggle potato if you just want to lay on the couch and watch some TV. Cadillac's your dude. If you want to know more about Cadillac, you can check him out on our Facebook or alwaysinforever.org.
I'll see you tomorrow, Cadillac. So to recap on David's day, the event is on October 1st. You guys need more information, our listeners, just go on Facebook. Do we have that
We
on?
have an event tab.
Yep.
So
and
absolutely RSVP to the event tab, and you'll get all the updates and the reminders. And if you want help vetting out shelters, we are more than happy. Just reach out. They also can email the info at alwaysinforever.love.
There is an event on here, and it's online event, you guys. So if you guys need to know more information.
Is there anything happening at the farm that day that people can RSVP or?
We won't have any public events.
Okay.
We probably will Connie will do the bike memorial ride. I don't know if she'll do it that day. She might do it the day before. And we'll just gather as like a staff, but we won't have a big party there per se.
Everyone else can
Start
just take their
thinking about
photos.
it now, though, because I know myself and a few other people who volunteer for the barn, we're already going, okay, shall we get together? Shall we each individually try to find one? And it's kind of a fun way to get together with your volunteers that you're usually working in parallel with, and you may not be out there roaming around town
I
together.
even know last year a couple followers who have adopted from us and follow us, they kind of got together in Topeka, and they didn't know each other. They just knew they just knew. I think one person just posted, I'm in the Topeka area. Is anyone else doing anything? And I remember seeing the pictures. They all got together and raised the stuff together and then went out there together that day and took pictures. So,
And I think people would be surprised on how small the 3 degrees of separation of events we've been out to. And we just mentioned Always and Forever, and I swear someone there will come up and be like, I adopted a dog, or I adopted a kitten.
I went through every city last year because I was doing the map, and you'd be amazed how many times a city in North Carolina was repeated. I'd be like, I already have that city. Like 5 other people did it. So even in cities far away from here, there are people that follow. I mean, I mentioned it before that we started, we had people in Kuwait, Australia, Canada, Mexico.
And our update on our podcast is we're in 21 total countries now. So if you are listening and in one of those 21 countries, this is something you can take part of very easily online with a donation or posting a picture and tagging David's date in it to get your country recognized as being part of the day.
Good job.
Thanks.
Judy and Amy, thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I'm sure you will be
having
back
us.
for other episodes. We had these episodes planned out in June, July.
Right.
And we got a little busy, and Jen texted us. We were supposed to do the adoption episode this week, and she's like, hey guys, I think we should really do David's
Which
Day.
is a great idea.
I
To,
I told her that.
Get people to hear
good.
about it. Okay, we knew it wasn't
I heard
Jen's
you
idea.
guys mention doing it in October, and
And I was
let's
like-
do it before so people can
Like,
participate.
that's so far away. And she's like, it's September, Sheila. And I'm like, it's next month. In my mind, it was still July. I'm like, we still have time.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy that you guys came out.
Sure.
And we can spread this word. So all of our listeners, mark it on your calendar, October 1st. Our goal is to hit $100,000 this year. And little by little, I'm sure we can do that, especially with all of our new listeners and followers. Thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. And as always, it's never too late for a happily ever after.